Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome back to Noble Thoughts and Bible Time. My name is Janet, and this is yet another amazing time where we get to share. And we are continuing on the series Trusting God Completely. Today's episode is on walking in wisdom and, learning from other people's journeys. Ever felt like life is throwing the same lessons at you? What if you didn't have to learn every lesson the hard way? Because the truth is, even though God speaks to us in His Word, He also, He has also given us guides, people around us, those that have gone ahead of us, that we can learn from. We can learn from their mistakes, because you really don't have to make the same mistake when you can learn from someone else's mistake. The book of Proverbs chapter 19 verse 20 speaks of hearing counsel and listening to instructions. We have many verses in Proverbs speaking about the aspect of hearing counsel and listening to instructions. In fact, honoring your parents so that you may live long is also in line with this, because you're learning. Whenever they tell you something, you're learning from something they know and have experienced, and they know better. So, I think mothers have this way of knowing whether someone is genuine or not. I don't know how they know. So, growing up, mom has always cautioned me about different people in my life. I would just introduce her to my friends, and she'd be like, this one is not a genuine friend. I'm like, she is a genuine friend. But over time, over the years, I've learned that our insights are never wrong, because, I've had my, moments with betrayals, when it comes to friendships. What really hurts more is not actually the betrayal. What hurts more is that I was told about this, but I chose to still go ahead with whatever it is I was cautioned about. So I've learned to listen to her about different aspects. And the book of Jeremiah talks about, standing on the crossroads, and asking for old paths. Where is the good way? And walking in that way. And you'll always find rest for your soul. God has placed guides, along our paths, different areas, whether, career-wise, family way, when it comes to the spiritual aspect of life, your emotional aspect, psychological aspect. There are people that, can share so much insights into different aspects of life that you really do not necessarily have to make a mistake or learn the hard way, when you can just pick the best insights, the best principles, and move forward. Because really, the beauty of life isn't necessarily making countless mistakes so that you can finally get it. You can just learn from someone who has been shaped ahead of you, who has walked the path that you've walked. And it's not necessarily when you're listening to their insights or when you're learning from their mistakes. It's not like you're copying their story or their lifestyle. It's more like you are learning something. You are choosing to walk in wisdom and learning from someone else's journey, because you don't necessarily need to learn the hard way, right? And that is the call that we have today in this series. We are trusting God completely in His Word, in whatever He has promised us, but also in the story, in the walks ahead of us. When you look at the Bible, we have different stories of different people. Abraham, there's Noah, there's Isaac, there's Esther, there's King Solomon, there's David, there's Paul. There's so much more you can learn from these people and the people that are around us, so that you don't necessarily need to learn the hard way. Because these people they are ahead of us in different aspects. They have so much insight to share when it comes to different aspects. Pick the right principles and the right insights so that you can continually face those seasons, different phases, and transition beautifully, because God has already marked steps ahead of us that we can learn from. When you walk in those very ways and those very paths with the guidance of the Holy Spirit, then you are able to grow, to evolve, and become the best version of yourself wherever you are at. So thank you so much for listening and watching. God bless you. God keep you. Take notes, pick the right principles, and move forward to your next phase. See you soon.